Republicans. It's good to see all of you here. This is our June breakfast. Welcome all. It's going to be a jam-packed breakfast, so we're going to get this started as quickly as possible and move through as much as we can so that we can get to Al Highsmith's tall tales for the day. To introduce our guest speaker today, someone that I've had the privilege of working with for a while now, our current Vice Chairman, Alan Collier.
I heard this talk the other day at the Senior Statesman. It was one very, very impressive talk. It was given to a nonpartisan group who gave him a very polite applause, a very well-justified applause. I feel that we need to have a little civility between candidates. I would call people's attention to the fact that our two legislative delegates get along very well together. Let us have it. This is a more partisan group than what you spoke to before.
It is possible that a bit of partisanship may work its way into the talk today. It has been somewhat revised. Alan mentioned my recent surgery. There are advantages to having your spleen removed. I lost 40 pounds.
Big spleen.
There was an 8-pound spleen supposed to weigh 3. The doctor said it's probably a world record. But I do recommend that you look at other diet programs that are less painful and considerably less expensive than $39,000. The other advantage I have is a really dramatic scar that gets all kinds of attention from the ladies at the pool. And I have 3 songs and dances that I give them as to how I got the scar. One of them has absolutely no truth to it, but is very dramatic, about how I cut myself while trying to get through where the torpedo had hit the ship to rescue 3 of my shipmates who were being attacked by a shark. The second one is truthful in every way, but leaves out the little element of the whole truth. And that is that I was in downtown Charlottesville, just off Locust Avenue, and a man wearing a mask cut me. Now the whole truth is that I was in the operating room at Martha Jefferson Hospital, just off Locust Avenue, and the doctor wearing a mask came in and cut me. But I like the first one best. It gets much more attention. Anyway, today I'm going to talk to you about 2 presidents. Now it's supposed to be not a partisan talk because one of these presidents was a Republican and the other one was a Democrat. Now, I'm not going to talk about their policies and such. What I want to talk to you about today is the personal friendship that developed between these 2 presidents who put aside partisan considerations to become very dedicated personal friends. Now, I have pictures of these 2 gentlemen over here for you to see, autographed pictures. May I say, as an aside, that the most interesting autograph picture I have is one of Richard Nixon on which he misspelled the word Republican. He got the B and the P mixed up. Offered to do it over again. I took it not knowing that I walked out of there with something that's probably very valuable to a autograph director. This story starts with a telephone call. It was totally unexpected by the recipient, and it was a very gracious and generous gesture by the caller. The call came to the New York apartment of Herbert Hoover. The call came from, and of course he was a Republican, the call came from Harry Truman, a Democrat who a few days earlier had moved up from Vice President of the United States to President of the United States upon the death of Franklin Roosevelt. Now, Hoover had left the presidency in 1933 as blame was heaped on him for the depression that was gripping the entire world. Herbert Hoover worked out a very ambitious plan to fight the depression But when he presented it to the congressional leaders, the Speaker of the House, John Nance Garner, who later served as Roosevelt's vice president for 2 terms, told him that, Mr. President, we have you by, and I will not mention the portion of the anatomy the state's enlisted, and we're not going to let go till the election's over. In other words, we're not going to do a thing to help the President of the United States help the people of this country, because the election is much more important. Therefore, Hoover left office with very, very low approval ratings, crushing defeat by Franklin Roosevelt. Now, when Franklin Roosevelt and Herbert Hoover met in the election of 1932, they were not strangers. Before Hoover was elected president, he and Franklin Roosevelt had been good friends. In 1924, Franklin Roosevelt made an effort to talk Herbert Hoover into running for president of the United States as a Democrat. And at that time he said that Herbert Hoover was the most qualified man in America to be president of the United States. By the end of the very bitter campaign of 1932, the 2 men were not speaking. The friendship was gone, never to be rekindled. It is reported that on the traditional drive of the President and President-elect from the White House to the Capitol for the inaugural, neither man spoke to the other one. For the next 12 years, as Franklin Roosevelt served as president, Herbert Hoover was in political exile. He was never acknowledged by the president. He was never asked to participate in any public ceremony. He was never invited to the White House. And certainly, he was never asked to come and advise the president. Therefore, the call from Harry Truman, in which Harry Truman said, Mr. President, I want you to come and advise me because I need your help, said it reduced Mr. Hoover to tears to get this call after these 12 long years of political exile. Franklin Roosevelt did visit Herbert Hoover's hideaway out in Madison County, only a few miles from here. But he did not go as a tribute to Mr. Hoover. He went because the camp had been given to the federal government as a possible retreat for future presidents. He came to see if it met his needs. It did not. He stayed only long enough for lunch, announced he didn't like the place, and never went back. Now, Mrs. Roosevelt, who visited it later, did like it very much and was a frequent visitor there. Possibly because Franklin Roosevelt wasn't, but that's another story. Roosevelt, of course, then went on to establish Shangri-La in Maryland, which Dwight Eisenhower renamed Camp David after his grandson. Harry Truman was Franklin Roosevelt's 3rd president. For the first 2 terms, there was John Nance Garner. Then came the ultra-left Henry Wallace. And finally, Harry Truman was selected as the 4th president. Now, when he was elected as selected to be the running mate for Franklin Roosevelt, Roosevelt's brain trust realized that the president's health was so precarious that he would probably not live more than a few more months.
Please watch Part 2 of our June 2008 breakfast meeting, also available now on YouTube. The Albemarle Republican breakfast meeting is held on the 2nd Saturday of every month at the Golden Corral Steakhouse restaurant on Route 29 North next to the main post office. Join us for breakfast or visit us anytime at albemarlegop.org or call 973-5499 or send an email to info@albemarlegop.org.